श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। क्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विशेषगौरोगणां विधे सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्ते नमः। व्यासमष्टारं शक्ते धर्मकलं शम्बराशरात्मनि मन्देषु गदातं तपोनिधिं नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। मूकं करोति वाचालं भङ्गं भङ्गयति गिरिमित्कटवात्मां वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। नारायणपरो व्यक्तादण्डमव्यक्तसम्भवं मण्डस्यान्तस्तु मे लोकाः तद्दीपाशमेधिनी। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां नगं भगवता नारायणे स्वयं व्यासेन कृतं पुराणमणिनां मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीमष्टादशाध्यायिनं त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवेद्वेषिणी। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमो भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् अवतीर्णश्च कालट्यां केदारेन्द्रतश्च तिष्ठितप्रतिष्ठाद यदा शङ्करो गुरुः। Previously, we were looking at Shloka 18th, so that was as part of Bhagavan saying, t- for the one who has realized, who is in the Jnana Yoga, who has attained that Atma Jnana, for him, there is no karma, there is no rights and duties for him to perform. There is no karmas to be performed. And that's what we were looking at. So in the 18th Shloka, we were looking at Naivatasya Krithenartho न कृतेनेह कश्चन न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चित् अर्थ व्यपाश्रयः. For him, there is no concern here. Why he does not need to perform these karmas? Because for him, there is no concern here at all with performing the action, nor any concern with non-performance. Moreover, for him, there is no dependence on any objects to serve any purpose. So we were looking at this one. So for him, the meaning is for him, that means for the one who rejoices in that Atma. We looked at previous shloka, 17th shloka, Atma Tripta, Atma Ratihi, Atma Santushta. So for him, there is no need at all. Okay, for him, there is no need at all, be it in the form of prosperity or moksha. For him, there is no need at all for karma because there is no hankering for elevation to heaven, etc. And because moksha cannot be achieved through action, for him, there is no need of these actions. In keeping, again, this is in keeping with the Shruti Vakya, Mundaka Upanishad, for example, says, Parikshya Lokan Karma Chitan Brahmano Nirvedamayan Nas Kratena. The Brahmana should resort to the renunciation after examining the words acquired through karma with the help of the maxim that there is nothing here that is not result of karma. So, what is the need of performing the karma? So that's what Mundaka Upanishad says. What is the need? For the one who has, he should renounce this world after examining this entire world through the karma. And then he should say that this karma will not give me what I'm looking for. Thinking like that, he should renounce everything. And that is to say, that which is not the product of action, the eternal, the moksha, does not come from action. So that's what it said. The negation of moksha being the product of knowledge, that is jnana, as is again already suggested in the word, it's suggested by the word eva in this shloka. Again, because the non achievement of the moksha, the ever achieved moksha, which is the nature of the Atma itself, consists in mere ignorance about it. So, moksha is simply removal of that ignorance by the knowledge. So, when that ignorance is removed by the knowledge of reality, then the knower of that Atma, there remains, there is no need for whatever to be fulfilled either. through the action or through the knowledge. So for the one who has ignorance, this karma is required because he need to remove that ignorance to realize that realization, right? And that knowledge. And once that knowledge is comes, ignorance disappears. And once that realization is there for him, there is nothing more to do. And that's the meaning. And the question here might come saying that even by a man of such a state, action must be undertaken for avoiding evil, like sins and things like that. That's why Bhagavan says that, nor does he suffer any effect from non performance of actions. Through the non performance of Nitya karmas, there is no effect whatsoever here in this world or in the form of in the other world, incurring, for example, attaching sin and things like that. That's why Bhagavan says. And Bhagavan states the reason for all this in the second half of the verse, where he says, use the word uh, cha, that means used as a because, where he says, because for this one, that is the one who is attained this knowledge, the knower of this Atma, Paramatma, the one who has this Atma Jnana, for him, there is no Vyapashraya, there is no need, full connection whatsoever. Vyapashraya, Sarva Bhuteshu, for him, there is no need for connection with any object, whether it is from simple object here to Chaturmukha Brahma. Okay. For him, for between any object, from any object, there is nothing for him to do. The meaning of the sentence is there is nothing that can be fulfilled through the work by depending on some particular object. For him, there is nothing that this world can give. And that's what being said here. And therefore, the performance and non-performance are useless for that person. The one who has realized, who has that realization, the both performance and non-performance are useless. And that's again said in, for example, in the Upanishads, for example, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, Nainam krita krite tapataha. That means things done or not done do not trouble him. That's what the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says. And also Brihadaranyaka Upanishad again says, for example, it says, Tasya na devaschana bhutya ishate atma hesham sa bhavati. The meaning is, even the devatas cannot prevail against him because he becomes their own self, their own atma. And that's why even devatas cannot do anything for him. So that's what Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says. Since it is said that even devatas are incapable of preventing his moksha or anything, therefore, the meaning is that there is no need for performance of any action, any karma, in the form of worship of devatas for averting the obstacles or gaining that moksha or anything like that, or realization or anything for him, because he has attained that step. Again, this here, that's the meaning of this shloka. Sri Madhusudan Saraswati, in his Bhashya, he explains a little bit further the kind of the Atma Jnani, the knower of Brahman, what type of the types of or the characteristics of the that Atma Jnani, he explains in terms of 7 different stages. Okay, so that's again he uses what's said by Vasishtha, which we see in the Yoga Vasishtha. That's Yoga Vasishtha is related to the yogas, and it's narrated by Vasishtha to Sri Rama. Okay, so Rama receives this knowledge from Vasishtha himself, and that's in Yoga Vasishtha. And Srimad Sun Saraswati quotes that 7 different stages of that Atma Jnani, the kind of Atma Jnani that described in the shloka. He uses, Mazun Saraswati uses that Yoga Vasishtha reference here. Those 7 different stages are, the first one is called the plane of knowledge. The first one is called Shubhecha. that means good resolve. It is declared. That's the first one. And the second one is vicharana. So Shubhecha, Vicharana, and then the third one, Vicharana is deliberation, and then the third one is Tanumanasa, which is fineness of mind, and then the fourth one is Sattvapatti, which is experience of the reality, and after that comes Asamsakti, which is non-relationship, and then the sixth one is Padartha Bhavani, which is absence of objects, and the seventh is Turyaga, which is reaching the status of Turiya. So that's what the Yoga Vasishta says, and that's what here quoted by Srimad Sun Saraswati, and he explains this saying that these 7 stages. I'll quickly briefly cover that 7 stages and explanations as Srimad Sun Saraswati quoted in this his explanation, just because we are learning, and anything that helps us in learning is good. So he says the first one is Shubhecha, is the desire for moksha, okay, which starts from discrimination between external and which starts from discrimination between eternal and non-eternal, and so on. So, and it culminates in its fruits. So that is, so it is the desire. Shubhecha is a desire, and then approaching the guru in the form of Shravana and Manana, the second step comes, which is Vicharana. Okay, so Vicharana is deliberation. So approaching the Guru, Shravana is listening, Manana is again recollecting that thing. And then third step is Tanumanasa, which is the ability of the mind to grasp subtle things with concentration, accomplished through practice of Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana is again Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. The 3 steps is in yogas, we see those things. Shravana is listening, Manana is recollecting, Nididhyasana is continuously recollecting that concentrated mind, recollecting that. So continuously recollecting what has been heard, and that's Nididhyasana. So these 3 stages, Shubhecha, Vicharana, and Tanumanasa, these 3 stages, they form, which are the forms of disciplines, are called Jagrata by the yogis. Okay, Jagrata is waking state. So he is awake. In that state, he is Shubhecha, he makes that desire good resolve. He comes up with a good resolve. He deliberates, and then fineness of mind. He continuously Tanumanasa. He continuously concentrate on that thing. So that's what also Vasishta says to, for example, in Yoga Vasishta, we see in the same thing, where he says, Taduptam Bhumika Tritayam Tvetadhrama Jagraditi Stitam Yatha Vadveda Buddheyam Jagat Jagrati Drishyate. That means, O Rama, it has been ascertained that these 3 stages, that is the Shubhecha, Tanumanasa, and Shubhecha, Vicharana, and Tanumanasa, these 3 stages constitute the waking state, that is the Jagrata state, Jagrata Avastha. And in the waking state, this world is perceived just as it is, with the ideas of differences. So that it is just perceived as it is. So in this world, so that's the first 3 stages, and then follows as the fruit of these 3 stages, completing these 3 stages, the 4th stage, which is Sattvapatti, that is the experience of the reality. And reality is with R capital here, the supreme reality, experience of that supreme reality, which consisting of supersensuous realization of the identity of Brahman and the Atman. This is again called in the state of dream, Swapnavastha, in the state of dream, because the universe as a whole disappears, whole at that time appears as unreal. And that's what again Yoga Vasishtha says, for example, Sarvasyapi Jagato Mityatvena Spuranat Taduktam Advaite Stairema Yate Dvaite Prashama Magate. So when firmness in non-duality is established, duality has ceased. The persons who have reached the fourth stage, that is Sattvapatti, sees the world as dream. So he sees the world as a dream. And then that yogi who has reached this fourth stage, Sattvapatti, is called Brahmavit. Sri Madhusudan Saraswati says that the person who has reached this stage, fourth stage of Sattvapatti, going through Shubhecha, Vicharana, Tanumanasa, and Sattvapatti, reaching that Sattvapatti where he experiences that identity with Brahman, and as for him, this whole universe appears as unreal and only Brahman is real. Such a person is known as Brahmavid. That means a knower of Brahman. And then the fifth, Asamshakti, sixth, Padartha Bhavani, Padartha Bhavani, and then seventh is Turyaga stage, are the secondary divisions of this Jivan Mukti state itself. So in the fourth stage itself, he has attained that knowledge, and then the secondary stages of that is the steps we looked at, total 7 I said, right? So Vichubecha, Vicharana, Tanumanasa, Sattvapatya, Samsakti, Padartha Bhavani, Turyaga. So these 7. So we looked at them that the fourth stage itself, he experiences of Brahman, and the remaining 3, that is Asamsakti, Padartha Bhavani, and Turyaga, they are just secondary stages and divisions of that Jivan Mukti stage itself. But Srimad Sun Saraswati explains what that means here. He says that the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, that is the total spiritual absorption in which the subject-object relationship vanishes, in that state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which comes when the mind becomes withdrawn through the practice of Savikalpa Samadhi. Again, Savikalpa Samadhi is spiritual absorption in which subject-object relationship persists. So that state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi is called Asamsakti. That means non-relationship. And the state in which one attains that is Sushupti, that is the sleep state, not Swapna, not dreaming. Okay, he is in sleep state, because from that state he emerges, that is, he in the sense the yogi emerges by himself. So yogi reaches that stage, that Samadhi state, Nirvikalpa Samadhi state, which is the fifth step in this yoga we are looking here, called Asamsakti. So he reaches that in the Sushupti, okay, in the Sushupti sthiti. So we looked at Jagrata, Swapna, Sushupti, right? So Jagrata is waking up state where the first 3 happen, Shubhecha, Vicharana, Tanumanasa, and Sattvapatti, the fourth stage of this yoga, where that happens in the uh, in the Swapnavastha, and then Asamshakti is the one that happens in the Sushupti. So the person in this yogi, he emerges, so he goes into that stage, Nirvikalpa Samadhi state, and then he comes out on his own from that. By himself, he emerges out of that. And such a yogi is known as Brahmavidvara. So previous one, Sattvapatti, the one who is in Sattvapatti state, he was known as Brahmavit, right? So here, in the fifth stage, one who has reached that fifth stage where one reaches the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, such a person is known as Brahmavidvara. That means the great knower of the Brahman. So the previous is the knower of the Brahman. Now he is known as great knower of the Brahman. And then after this stage, that is the Asamshakti stage, the fifth stage, the results after that, the results of the maturity of practicing that is this samadhi, Vikalpa samadhi, practicing that and lasts for a long time, that is called padartha bhavani, the absence of objects, and that state is in the Gada Sushupti, that means deep sleep state. And because the yogi who does not emerge from himself in this stage, so he need to be awakened only by the efforts of the others. So when someone reaches this Gada Sushupti state, he does not wake up on his own. He does not come back to this normal state, what we are like us. He does not come back to that state, but others need to wake him up. Okay, he need to be awakened by the others. So that's such a state when a yogi reaches, he is known as Brahmavid Variyan. Brahmavid Variyan. He is known as the greater knower of Brahman. Okay, so we looked at Brahmavara, Brahmavidvara, and Brahmavidvariyan. So three stages aligning with Sattvapatti, Asamsakti, and Padartha Bhavani. So then, after reaching the fifth stage, which is Asamsakti, uh, called by in the Sushupti stage, he gradually reaches the sixth stage called deep sleep, that is Gada Sushupti. So that's what Yoga Vasishta also says, where it says that Yoga Vasishta, for example, says that Uktam hi Panchamim Bhumika Metya Sushupti Mikam Shashti Gadam Sushuptakyam Kramat Patati Bhumikam. So after reaching the fifth stage called Sushupti, he gradually reaches the deep sleep stage, that is Gada Sushupti stage. So that's what it says. So we looked at the six stages now: Shubhecha, Vicharana, Tanumanasa, which is in the Jagrata state, and then Sattvapatti in the Swapnavastha, in the Swapna dreaming state, and at that time the yogi is known as Brahmavid. Brahmavid. He is known as Brahmavid at that time. And then the sixth stage is one enters the Nirvikalpa Samadhi. That means the yogi comes out of Samadhi on his own, and he is known as Brahmavidvara. And then continuously practicing that Nirvikalpa Samadhi, he reaches the stage known as Padartha Bhavani, which is the sixth state here we are looking, and that is deep sleep, Gada Sushupti state. And there the yogi is known as Brahmavid Variyan. So then seventh stage is Turyaga. And that stage is the Turiya, state of spiritual absorption, from which, on account of total absence of perception of duality, that yogi does not emerge either by himself or through the efforts of others. So when he reaches that Samadhi state, he does not emerge at all, okay, or either by himself or through the efforts of others, and he remains there. He remains in every way ever self-absorbed in that Atma only, is absorbed only in that as a mass of full supreme bliss. So in that Paramananda, he stays in that alone forever. And his bodily functions are normally managed by the others. So he does not care about his bodily function, whether eating or doing or wearing clothes or anything. He does not think about anything like that. And all those things will be managed by the others. Without any effort of his own, he reaches that stage. And because of that, his vital forces again being controlled by the Paramatma himself. So again, it is Srimad Saraswati explains this as Yasyasu Samadhyavasthayaha na sattvo na va parato vitthito bhavati sarvata Veda Darshana Bhavat Kintu Sarvada Tanmaya Eva Vivahara Paripurna Paramananda Ghana Eva Sarvatastishtati Sa Saptami Turiya Avastha. So this seventh avastha is Turiya Avastha. So where he does not emerge himself, and he is in that Paramananda. He is always in that Paramananda state, and his bodily functions are managed by the others. So he does not come out of that state at all once he reaches that stage. So that Turiya state, and the one who has reached this stage, this Turyaga stage, is known as Brahmavid Varishta. So we looked at Brahmavid, Brahmavid. We looked at Brahmavid, we looked at Brahmavidvara, Brahmavidvariyan, and this seventh stage one who has reached is that yogi is known as Brahmavidvarishta, the greatest knower of the Brahman. So Tam Propto Brahmavidvarishta Ityachate. So that was Srimad Saraswati saying in his Bhashya. And he again quotes Yoga Vasishta, which says that Uktam hi Shashtam Bhumyam Vaso Stitva Saptamim Bhumi Mapniyat Kinchide Vaishya Sampannas Stvata Vaishya Na Kinchana Videha Muktata Tukta Saptami Yoga Momika Agamya Vachasam Shanta Sa Sima Yoga Bhumishu. So he will be Shanta Sima. So that yogi, after being established in the sixth stage, should attain the seventh stage, and that is sixth stage is Padartha Bhavani. From there, he should attain the seventh stage, which is Turyaga. And in the sixth stage, he may perceive only some difference, or he may not perceive anything at all. In the seventh stage of the yoga is called Moksha of this disembodied. So that means Videha Mukti. In this, while living itself, he has attained Mukti. Among the stages of the yoga, that is the climax, and it is beyond reach of the world and is tranquil. That's why it says that Agamya Vajasam Shanta. So it is tranquil, and Sima, it is beyond the words of Sima Yoga Bhumishu. So it is beyond the words, reach of the words. So such a stage that yogi reaches when he reaches that Turyaga state. So again, the same thing is said in other places as well. So we Srimad Saraswati in his Bhashya so far up to now, he explained these seven stages. Again, I repeat the seven stages: Shubhecha, Vicharana, Tanumanasa. Those are waking state. Sattvapatti is in Swapnavastha. Asamshakti is in which is the fifth one, is in the Sushupti. Padartha Bhavani is in Gadadi Sushupti, the deep sleep, and then Turyaga is the final stage, seventh stage. So the same thing is said in, for example, in Bhagavata Purana as well, where it says tam deham cha nashwaramavastita muttidam va siddho na pashyati yato dyagam mat surupam devad apetamata दैववशात् उपेतं वासो वासो यथा परिकृतं मदिरा मदान्धा. So I think we looked at this shloka previously in the second chapter as well, when we were explaining the description of Sthita Prajna. When Arjuna's question was asked and Krishna was explaining that Sthita Prajna, we looked at that. So the meaning of this Bhagavata Purana shloka is, as a person inebriated by wine, so who is drunken, who does not notice whether the cloth is worn by him, drops down, or stays on by chance. Similarly, the self-realized person has attained his true nature, therefore he takes no notice of this transitory body, whether it remains lying down or standing. That's what Bhagavata Purana says. Bhagavata Purana also says, देहोऽपि दैववशगः खलु कर्म यावत् स्वावरम्भकं प्रति समीक्षत एव सासु तं सप्रपञ्चम् अधिरूढसमाधियोगः स्वाप्नं पुनर्न भजते प्रति बुद्धवस्तुः. The meaning is, together with its life breath, the body also, which is under the divine dispensation, awaits the end of the result of the past actions that is produced. One who has attended the yoga of samadhi, who has experienced that reality, supreme reality, does not accept again the dream, that dream body together with the universe. So that's what Bhagavata Purana says. So again, the meaning is, For the one who has reached that turiya state, that final state, Jivan Mukti state, for him, he is just waiting for this body to fall off. He does not have anything to do with this body or this universe. He has reached that stage. He is just waiting for this body to fall up as part of his prarabdha karma. Okay, so this body has come as part of our previous births karmas, and he's just waiting for that to fall off. And he is in that turiya state, in that paramananda state. So, and similarly, for example, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad as well, it says a similar thing where it says Tadyata hi nirval nirvalayani valmike mrita pratyasta shayita evame evame vedam shariram shete adayama shariro mrita prano brahmaiva teja eva. Just as the life just as the lifeless slaw of a snake is cast off and lies in the anthill, so does the body lie. Then the Atma becomes disembodied and the immortal becomes the prana, that is the supreme self, Brahman, the light. The Atma, it becomes the Brahman itself. That's what it says. So that means it becomes one. So that's the attainment of moksha. So summary of this is the fourth stage is enlightenment. The previous three are disciplines leading to it. That means Shubhecha, Vicharana, Tanumanasa. They are leading to it. But the last three, so you've looked at 7 stages, right? So yoga. So the middle stage is Sattvapatti. Okay, that is the enlightenment. That is the realization of Brahman. Previous 3 stages, Shubhecha, Vicharana, Tanumanasa, they are those 3 stages are the disciplines leading to that fourth stage, realization. That means you have that desire, you have to think about it, you try about it, and then you continuously do nididhyasana. The last 3 stages, asamshakti, padartha, bhavani, and turyaga, they are spoken as the status of jivan mukti. So different stages of Jivan Mukti, obviously, because we looked at Asam Shakti is where one comes out of that samadhi on himself. Padartha Bhavani is where others wake him up, and Turyaga is one reaches and he does not even come out of that stage even by efforts of others. So that's what we looked at the 7 stages. And this same stages, for example, is explained by others as well. So if you look at, for example, Sri Shankaracharya's Viveka Chudamani, okay, and in that Viveka Chudamani, there is a shloka, Atma Atma Vivechanam Swanubhavo Brahmatmana Samstiti Muktir Samstitir Muktir no Shatakodi Janmasu Sukrataihi Punnair Vinalabhyate. So that shloka, in explanation to that shloka, in his Bhashya for that Viveka Chudamani, Pradaspandi Jagadguru Sri Chandrasekhara Bharati Mahaswami of Sringeri Sharada Pita, he has written a commentary explanation against Viveka Chudamani, and he refers to these 7 steps, Shubhecha to Turyaga. He explains these 7 steps as Satta Jnana Bhumika. So he explains them. So Shubhecha is again good resolve. It is the thought that's coming, that need, the thoughts that coming to mind, saying that I need to spend time with sajjanas. I need to spend time with good people and need to spend time in learning Shastra, listening to Shastras, and doing all these karmas and all those things, good things. That's the thought that's coming, Shubhecha. Okay. And the second one is Vicharana, deliberation, which is more interest in that Shastras and Sajjanas company, in the good people's company. And the first one is simply thought. Shubhecha is just a thought. Now, Vicharana is active engagement, increasing every day and living that Sadachara way. So that living that good life, the correct, the proper life as per the Shastras. and having company of the good people. Good people again is those who follow the Shastras. So that's the Vicharana. And Tanumanasa is fineness of mind. It starts distancing from the Indriya Vastus. Okay, once you deeply go into that, everything else becomes less of use to you, less of desire to you. So that's the Tanumanasa, reaching that stage. And Sattvapati is the experience of the reality, staying in Shuddha Sattvajnana, Sattvaguna, where mind does not get distracted by the Vishayas, the external objects, Laukika Vishayas, no longer of interest to such a state. Asamsakti is non-relationship, where complete separation from the Laukika Vishayas, which is the highest state of Sattvaguna. And Padartha Bhavani is again absence of objects, happiness in himself. So, for example, we looked at in the Bhagavad Gita previous chapter, right? Atmanevasam Atmaneva Atmana Tushtaha. So he's happy in himself, in that Atma itself. He enjoys, rejoices that. And he does not think about outside. He does not even realize the external world. World, on the other hand, seems to think him as a drunken, mad, and so on. Okay. So again, we looked at an Shloka Yanisha Sarvabhutanam Tasyam Jagrati Sammi Yasyam Jagrati Bhutani Sanisha Pashito Mune. So when everything is night for others, it is day for him, and when everything is night for him, it's day for others. So it's like that. So we looked at that in the Sankhya Yoga previously, 69th shloka. And then the final stage is Turyaga, where reaching that Turiya state, where he looks at everything as Brahmamaya. Everything is Brahma. He sees everything in everywhere. He sees Brahma. So that's Esha Brahmi Sthiti. That's what Krishna explained in the 72nd shloka of Sankhya Yoga, right? So that Brahmi Sthiti he reaches. So Sri Chandrasekhara Bharati Swamiji, in his commentary of Viveka Chudamani, for example, this shloka, Atmana Vivecham Swanubhavo Brahmatmana Samsthiti. So he explains this 7 stages of yoga. He uses the same thing, and we see this again in multiple places. This 7 stages of reaching that moksha, Jivan Mukti. So that Viveka Chudamani shloka, again, the second part of that shloka is a Muktirmo Shatakodi Janma Sukritai Punnair Vinalabhyate. So it says that even with Shatakoti, tens of thousands of crores of life, that moksha otherwise will not come, right? So that's scary part. Again, the important thing is, I think I've said this multiple times, if one who has the shubhecha, that desire, resolve that I want this, I want to explore this, then he has to make an effort step by step. If it is a 10 step or 7 step here we looked at, you have to start from 1 step, right? So one has to start, and any effort spent in this process is not going to be lost. And that's what we looked at previously as well in Sankhya Yoga 40th shloka, where Bhagavan says that Neha Vikramana Shosti Pratyavayo na Vidyate Solpamapyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahadobhaya. So even if we make a little effort towards that first step, second step, wherever we are, making toward the next step, we make one little effort, that's not lost. So that's how we see somebody born very young age, they become completely renounces everything, and they become attached to that Brahmana becomes attached, becomes a sannyasi, and becomes such a jnana. We see the knowledge in them. How do they happen? Because the efforts they have put in the previous lives, that's where taken them. This effort that one puts does not get lost when this body is lost. It carried and it comes in the next life. Like this is continuously carries on. That's why Bhagavan said, Neha Kramana Shosti Prattivayo na Vidya. So there is no harm in following this karma yoga. So Neha Vikramana Shosti. There is no nasha, there is no destruction of the effort that's been put here. Solpamapyasya dharmasya. So even if a little effort is put, it trayate mahato bhayat. So it takes away that scary thing, that mahato, the great danger. It takes away that great danger. And we looked at this shloka in detail previously, so I'm not going to detail more here. So this shloka here, again, we looked at saying that this karma yoga is not for the enlightened person. So Bhagavan now says that Arjuna, you are qualified for the karma yoga, and that's why you should follow the karma yoga. And Bhagavan explains that in the next shloka. We will look at that next time when we gather.